The town of Nunda hosted an open house at their new town highway building on Saturday, June 4th, 2022. The Nunda Historical Society made a cell phone recording of the speeches given that afternoon for our archives.
A little synopsis of how we got here and that kind of stuff. And I've been here now, this is my 7th year, I can't believe I'm saying that, but the board before me, now Doris was on that board, and I think Jim, you were, wherever you are, enforcement. They had vision, and they recognized that we needed a new facility. Now, I just hope that everybody had an opportunity to go to the old one, and you can see why we had to get out of there. I mean, here we have a truck behind us, and you can see all the room that's in here. They could barely get into the openings with the equipment on. Once you get a wing on and the plow going, and it was pretty, it kind of looks like a cave down there, is what I always say, but it needed to be done. So once again, Nut Butter, they needed some property, and I'm so glad they were going to stay in Nunde. So they purchased the property that adjoins South State Street or Route 408 and to build a new peanut butter facility. But at that time, they signed an 8-year agreement with us to an option on the old property so that they could take that. So that actually ran out in 21, so we had to renew it. So as our board looked ahead, we knew the money that we had gotten, we saved. We put money in every new budget each year so that we had some money to work with. And then this property came to our attention that was available around 9 acres. And the key factor there, I think, was the fact that water and sewer was available, natural gas, electricity, and that's a big thing. And we had a view. I love this view up here. I mean, that sold it there too, I think. And of course, trying to do the cost, that's always a problem. And our senator that we had at the time, Kathy Young, I was at a function with her, and she kind of knew me. I like to joke. She said, if there's ever anything I can do for you, call me. And of course, I said, money. And she said, write me a letter, I'll keep it on my desk. And that was long forgotten. That was a few years after that. And then as she was getting out of the, had put in her resignation and everything, her aide called me and said they had $500,000 toward the building. So we were thrilled. But then you had Cuomo as the governor, and they hung on that money like it was in their own back pocket. We could not get that money released. I sent letters, our senator and assembly person sent letters, and no action. We didn't even hear from them. So then along came Governor Hochul, and I could play off the fact that she'd been to Nunde. When the peanut butter factory opened their new facility, she was there. And I met her there, and she'd meet thousands of people, I'm sure. But I rubbed that in a little bit. She knew how rural we were and how destitute we were and all this. So 2 weeks later, we got the money. So that, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but we were thrilled to get it anyways. That was a real plus. Then it was like hire an engineering firm. You can see MRB was the one, and our designer, Scott Boga, is with us today. And I know he worked with us so many times he was out here, like, this is wrong, we don't like this, or whatever, but he was, maybe behind our backs, you weren't so nice, but you were nice to our faces, I like that. And we had periodic meetings with all of the contractors and everything so that we were all on the same page. And it helps so much. I don't think people realize that you just can't start building something. We had to do soil samples, and we had to have somebody come in and tell us that there might be bats that live in the bushes somewhere, so we had, protected species. I mean, there were all these crazy things. But I know with MRB, very good. I mean, your staff that helped with all the invoicing and all that, things that we had to do. And because of the $500,000, that was New York State Department of Transportation that had to, we had to jump through the hoops for them. They had a lot of things we had to do. So without MRB, they're helping us, we wouldn't have been able to do that, I'm sure. And then we had Rick Moran, who's here, our highway superintendent. He and the guys did a lot of the work. I mean, when we started here, this property was how many feet higher, I don't know. But we took a lot of soil out of here, brought a lot of gravel, and so many, Rick, you probably know how many different highway guys helped us. There's 17 townships, and we must have had half of them here. Loaded. 22 trucks that went hauling gravel in, and then we piling topsoil out here. And I know we saved a lot by doing that way. Then we had the village helping us. Troy Bennett is here. He's for the DPW, and he helped a lot with the water and sewer connections and probably other things that I'm unaware of. And then our funding fell into place. Our BAM was only at 0.037%, so we had 2.1 million that we borrowed at that point for a year, and it only cost us $7,700. And now we have gone into permanent funding. We paid off $550,000, so we're $1,500,000 that we owe over a period of 25 years. But we had financial consultants, the BPD, Bernard Donegan, and Timothy McGill was our bond counsel. You can't do anything without their help either. Then we had to have an S&P rating, and we had to get on the computer for an hour answering questions, and thankfully for the BBS, which is the Baldwin Business Services, that they helped tremendously, Justin Bennett, and he and I, between us, could answer the questions. So, and I know you're going to see around us that things aren't 100% yet, they probably never really are, but I mean, we need a refrigerator, we've got to final coating and pavement out here, we've got to have a fueling station brought, and we're going to bring our existing pole barn structure to this site, and we're looking at that right now, and we have 2 salt sheds right that will eventually be brought up here, so there's still quite a few things that need doing, but we've got a certificate of occupancy finally, so we can get here. So, do any of my board members have anything they'd like to say?
I just want to say, on behalf of Ryan Colvin, who is president of MRB, I just want to come and congratulate you. What an exciting project to be a part of, and we're very, very privileged that we can play a role in this. Wanted to applaud the design team that worked on this for an exceptional design, but also your team and the folks at the town who work so closely with us and who really believed in kind of our hallmark programming process because we come from a background of municipal operations. It's not just about thinking about what is good for the town today, but also what's good long-term for the future. And a lot of that strategy kind of went into the design of this building, and we're very, very proud of that. We brought you a little symbol of green, and that's a symbol of the return on investment that we know you're going to get on this facility.
And you can't have it up here, Rick. It's all with me.
So just want to congratulate you and thank you for letting us play a role in this important project.
Thank you. No, it's important that when we do these buildings that we come in here and get to know all of you. The project did not happen on its own. Obviously, there's a lot of people involved here, had a lot of great input. I really appreciate the board and Rick and his group. Rick actually had a design of this building a long time ago. And so our job was really to help him realize this. We've never done a building like this before with garages on both sides. It's great for circulation, I'll tell you that. It's nice on days like this. But you know, it's about the process here, and that's what we're most proud of. I stood out in front of this building right before we were wrapping up with Mary Lee, and Mary Lee looked at me and said, you know, in the end here, you must be very proud of this building. And I said, no, I'm really proud of the process. I'm proud that we were able to execute this together and collaborate and bring this to fruition. And I actually want to thank everyone for sticking in there too. This was difficult times to get this building in. There were times when we were worried about getting steel. There were times when we were worried about the cost. We were worried about labor. The contractors were great on this project, I would say. We have 4 prime contractors that had to be managed. And they all stuck through it. And you know, I think in the end, we look at some of these towns and villages. You know, it's a real challenge to do a building like this some days. And again, I really thank you all for sticking on you'll benefit from this for years.
I mean, timing was everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too. I mean, really, the pandemic came, we already had our bids out, well, you can't bid it. So then we had to wait, I don't know, months
Yeah.
before we could rebid the project. So, things just fell together very well.
But just stuck through it, right?
Yeah, we stuck through it, yeah.
Yeah.
JP, you have anything you wanted to say?
Thrilled that Marilee called me. I've been working with Marilee for 21 years. Paul and I were looking at her old paperwork. And so it's nice to be involved in this community in Nunda for so long. And I was thrilled she called me, and then I was able to have a small part in helping it. And if you remember the show Sanford and Sons, that was about what the old highway garage looked like. So you've got a great facility, and again, nice job with Rick and everyone involved. So I'm proud to be a little piece of it. Thank you.
And I see Dave Thompson came in. He was a former board member as well, who helped get everything started. So glad to have you here. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say? We'll probably need a cleaner. Because it's too hard for you guys are out 10-hour days, and it'd be nice if we could, if you know of somebody that we could maybe hire to do once a week or something. Keep it looking great. Okay, anybody have a comment? Oh, Bob Youngster's here as well. He's the once again Nut Butter connection that we have here. So I don't know if you were here earlier, but I mentioned you mentioned once again Nut Butter a couple times. So.
Probably 7 or 8 years ago, we were expanding our facility down on Route 408, and we needed a spot to expand. And we worked very closely with the town of Nunda. We figured out a spot which happened to be on the property of the town of Nunda Highway Department, and so we've been able to build a new key facility, and this is like the final step as far as I'm concerned, because ultimately we laid out a plan to use the full 10 acres down there, and this is the last step of the process for us, because now we'll be able to acquire the additional 4 acres. We're going to make good use of that old building down there. I know probably Rick is glad to move out, but we're glad to use it. We're going to use it for some storage, and eventually the site down there, it'll be big enough that we'll be able to possibly add a couple more manufacturing facilities down there. So, this open house is part of, once again, Nut Butter's success. The relationship we've had with the town of Nunda is it's been a good one, and a big part of our success as a company. So thank you for all the efforts that we put into this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If not, Rick, are you leading tours?
Anybody wants to walk around? Sure.
Some of your board members probably need tours.
The Nunda Historical Society congratulates the town of Nunda for making history with the opening of their new town building on Hay Road.